In many crime cases, the culprits are caught quickly, often the same day the crime comes to light. But in this one, things played out very differently. Here, the perpetrator was the one leading the investigation, sending the police on a wild goose chase that would last nearly a month. The truth only started to surface after a shocking discovery in an unexpected place. This story is full of twists, pulling a small town into a web of deceit and sorrow. In Blountville, Tennessee, a charming and quiet town where everyone thought they knew each other's story, the disappearance of little Evelyn Boswell rocked the entire community. Megan Boswell, a young mother, reported her daughter missing, but her account was full of lies and half-truths, leaving investigators and townsfolk bewildered. Evelyn, a toddler with blonde hair and bright blue eyes, was last seen at a family Thanksgiving. But the alarm wasn't raised immediately, it came months later, from her grandfather, Tommy Boswell Sr., throwing suspicion and urgency into the search for her. As investigators dug deeper, they found a tangled web of contradictions in Megan's story. Even her ex-partner, Ethan Perry, who was living miles away in Louisiana, was unwittingly roped into her lies. Meanwhile, other family members were starting to fear the worst. This story isn't just about a missing child. It's about betrayal, unimaginable loss, and the dark lengths some people will go to in order to hide the truth. But before we dive into the details, I want to thank all of you, my incredible viewers and subscribers, for your support. Your likes, shares, and comments make all the difference. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and join our growing true crime community. Now let's get into it.
Blountville, Tennessee, a speck on the map where everyone knew your name, and secrets didn't stay hidden for long. It was here in this close-knit community that the story of Evelyn Boswell unfolded, a tale that turned from heartwarming to heart-wrenching in the blink of an eye. Now let's talk about the life of Megan Boswell, or Maggie as she was known locally. At just 17, life threw her a curveball that changed her forever: motherhood. Maggie wasn't just any teen mom. She was a teen mom surrounded by chaos. Her parents, Tommy and Angela Boswell, could have starred in their own drama series, with episodes filled with police calls, shouting matches, and worse. After their messy split, Maggie bounced between homes until landing in foster care. A stark reality for a girl barely old enough to drive. Despite these rough beginnings, Maggie showed signs of settling down when her daughter Evelyn was born in November 2018. This little girl, with her big blue eyes and infectious smile, became her young mom's world. But stability was elusive when you were living on the Boswell family compound, an 11-acre plot where the drama of multiple Boswell generations unfolded daily. Fast forward to 2019, and Maggie's life took another twist. She was working at Hunter's Chicken Shack, owned by the Wood family. Here she met Hunter Wood, a connection that quickly turned romantic. By December, Maggie and Hunter were an item, and Maggie, seeking a fresh start, moved in with him. But here's where things got murky. As Maggie's new life started to sparkle, her attention to Evelyn waned. At least that's what her family started to notice. The last confirmed sighting of Evelyn? A family Thanksgiving dinner. After that, Tommy Sr., Maggie's dad, started getting anxious. He was used to seeing his granddaughter regularly, but suddenly there was always an excuse. Evelyn was with a babysitter. She was with Ethan, Maggie's supposed ex, who had allegedly stepped up to co-parent. Tommy's worry meter was off the charts by February 2020. He had heard enough tall tales from Maggie about Evelyn's whereabouts that he made a fateful call to CPS. It had been months since I'd seen my granddaughter, he told them, his voice a mix of anger and fear. And with that call, the curtain rose on a full-scale investigation that would reveal a web of lies so intricate it baffled even the seasoned detectives of Sullivan County. As law enforcement dug deeper, they hit wall after wall of Maggie's fabrications. Ethan, the supposed caretaker of Evelyn, was stationed in Louisiana with the Army, and clearly not with Evelyn. Babysitters and friends who were supposed to have seen Evelyn. They either didn't exist or hadn't seen her in ages. Every new interview with Maggie only added layers to the labyrinth, leaving everyone questioning, where was Evelyn Boswell? This wasn't just a missing persons case. It was a mystery where the person we should trust the most, Evelyn's own mother, was the architect of deception. As Blountville held its breath, The search for Evelyn became a race against time. What had happened to this darling girl? Stay tuned, as this story was far from over, and every twist seemed to lead us further into the dark. After Evelyn Boswell was reported missing, the small town of Blounsville turned into the backdrop of an investigation that felt more like a detective novel with too many plot twists. But it all kicked off officially when the Amber Alert blared across Tennessee on February 19, 2020. A little girl, just over 2 feet tall, last seen wearing a pink tracksuit. The details were plastered everywhere, but confusion reigned supreme. According to Sheriff Jeff Cassidy, the dates didn't match up. Was it December 26th, or was it way back on Thanksgiving when she was last seen by a babysitter? The sheriff was betting on the earlier date because his source hadn't lied before. As if the personal drama wasn't enough, Megan threw social media into the mix. Under the alias Maggie Wood, she was all over Facebook, pleading for Evelyn's safe return. These posts felt off, almost like she was playing a role. And on the same day, she'd flipped the script in a live interview, claiming Evelyn was actually with her own mother, Angela Boswell, tucked away in some mysterious silver camper. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation got a tip about a gray 2007 BMW linked to Angela. The public was on high alert, looking out for this car that might as well have had Clue written on its side. And guess what? This vehicle saga led to the arrest of Angela and her boyfriend, William McLeod, in North Carolina. They were caught with the stolen BMW, which added another layer of mystery to the unfolding drama. During their interrogation, Angela and William's story took the narrative for a spin. They claimed the car was a gift. Yeah, right. And here's where it gets even stickier. Megan had told everyone she was scared to reveal who had Evelyn because she feared they would vanish. Yet here she was, hanging out with her mom, who she implicated in her daughter's disappearance. Nothing was adding up. The TBI and the FBI were pulling at threads, trying to untangle Megan's web of lies. She was a moving target, shifting her story with every interview. On February 24th, she dropped another bombshell, claiming her mother had passed Evelyn off to unknown people in a camper in Mendota, Virginia. The investigators hit the road. But this lead? Yeah, it turned out to be another dead end. And just when you thought it couldn't get more convoluted, Megan tried to play the pregnancy card again to avoid a polygraph that never was, claiming the sheriff's office refused to test her because she was pregnant. But the sheriff shot that down quicker than a speeding bullet, stating they never even set up such a test. Every piece of this puzzle was more baffling than the last. The community was on edge. The investigators were frustrated. And amidst all this chaos, little Evelyn was still missing. This wasn't just a case of a missing child. It was a maelstrom of lies, deceit, and desperate hopes clinging to every new piece of evidence, hoping for a breakthrough that would bring Evelyn home. So as the community's hope dwindled and the reward money piled up to nearly $60,000, the twists in this case kept everyone on edge. Meanwhile, Megan Boswell's credibility was unraveling at the seams. It came to a head on February 25th, when she was arrested for making false reports about Evelyn's disappearance. Now behind bars, Megan threw another curveball. She claimed Evelyn had tragically died in bed, accidentally smothered during sleep. It was a story so full of holes it was hard to see it as anything but another desperate attempt to mislead. And with all these lies piling up, authorities were far from convinced, especially since Hunter, who Megan dragged into her story, insisted he'd never even met Evelyn. As if the situation wasn't murky enough, Evelyn's grandfather, Tommy Boswell Sr., came forward with a potentially crucial tip. He pointed the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation towards an old playhouse on the property, a place that hadn't been searched yet. Why now, you might ask? Well, it turns out this was the spot Megan used to stash some of her stuff. On March 6, TBI agent Brian Fraley went to check it out, stepping into what seemed like a time capsule of Megan's childhood, now a grim crime scene. Inside that playhouse, among cobwebbed memories, was something that didn't belong, a white kitchen trash can, its contents freshly topped with trash bags, and underneath, a discovery that would turn the case inside out. Fraley found a second trash bag beneath the first, heavy and foreboding. He opened it to find a small decomposed body, Evelyn's. Wrapped tightly in a gray and white blanket, dressed in a purple onesie dotted with penguins, her small form was contorted unnaturally. Her face, heartbreakingly concealed with aluminum foil, was molded by the tight wrapping, distorting her tiny features. The autopsy results were as grim as the discovery. Evelyn had died from multiple forms of asphyxiation. Her upside-down position in the trash can, the mechanical obstruction from the tightly wrapped foil around her head, and the blanket that suffocated her. The unnatural folding of her body, her head forced backward and legs folded to her buttocks, painted a clear picture of homicide. A deliberate, monstrous act. This revelation sparked a wave of horror and disbelief. How could a mother weave such a web of lies while her daughter lay discarded like trash? The search for justice took on a new, fervent pace, aiming to piece together not just how Evelyn died, but why Megan would go to such lengths to cover it up. Evelyn May Boswell's case had shaken the entire country, and now justice was finally in motion. After months of deception, dead ends, and a search that had drained investigators and the public alike, the reality of what had happened to Evelyn was no longer up for debate. The little girl had suffered an unimaginable fate. Now the question was, who would pay for it? On February 25th, 2020, Megan Boswell was officially arrested and charged with filing false reports. After weeks of manipulating the investigation and changing her story every time law enforcement pressed for details, authorities had had enough. She was placed in Sullivan County Jail with a $25,000 bond. Her first court appearance was scheduled for March 2, 2020 at 1:30 p.m. in the Bristol General Sessions Court. Meanwhile, misinformation flooded social media. Speculation, rumors, and theories took over online discussions. But law enforcement clarified most of the information circulating didn't come from them. Still, they had a job to do. They needed hard evidence, and soon they would have it. By August 20th, 2020, Megan was indicted by a grand jury on 19 charges, including first-degree murder, 2 counts of felony murder, tampering with evidence, 12 counts of false reporting, failure to report a death under suspicious or unnatural circumstances. And her bond was increased to $1 million, and she pled not guilty. But the trial kept getting delayed. COVID-19 court backlogs. Megan's original attorney, Brad Sproles, resigned due to a breakdown in their relationship. A new attorney, Gene Scott, took over in September 2022. Even in jail, Megan wanted special treatment. In August 2023, she petitioned the judge to let her wear civilian clothes in court, a request that was denied. The case came to closure on February 3, 2025. It had been years since the world learned of Evelyn May Boswell's tragic fate. But now the moment everyone had been waiting for had arrived. Megan Boswell was facing the consequences of her actions. The trial was over, and the jury had delivered their verdict. Megan, now 23, was found guilty on all counts, including first-degree murder, in the death of her 15-month-old daughter, Evelyn. The courtroom was packed, the air thick with tension, as the jury's decision was announced. Megan cried as the foreperson revealed the verdict, confirming her guilt on 3 first-degree murder charges, including premeditated murder, murder in the commission of aggravated abuse, and murder in the commission of aggravated neglect. The reality of it all hit hard. Megan's lies, her deceit, and the twisted path that led to this moment had finally caught up with her. It was time for sentencing, and the stakes were high. Would Megan face a life in prison with the possibility of parole, or life without parole? It was all on the jury now. The sentencing phase kicked off immediately after the verdict was read. Megan's defense attorney, Gene Scott, respected the jury's decision, but still argued for mercy. He reminded the jury that Megan had been incarcerated since she was 18 years old. He painted a picture of a troubled past, filled with neglect, abuse, and hardship. He pleaded for the jury to consider the possibility of parole, suggesting that Megan could be released when she's in her 60s, given her age. But the state wasn't about to let that happen. The prosecution, led by Amber Massengill, was direct and unyielding. Massengill reminded the jury of the harsh reality. Evelyn would never get the chance to start her life again. Her life had been brutally taken from her. She had been stuffed in a trash can and discarded, her future stolen. Massengill told the jury, "Does Evelyn get the chance when she's 69 years old to start her life again?" The defense brought in witnesses to humanize Megan. Angela Boswell, Megan's mother, took the stand. She was emotional, admitting her own failures as a mother and how Megan had suffered as a result of her poor example. Angela spoke of Megan's rough upbringing, raised by grandparents, with a mother who struggled with addiction. Angela took responsibility for her daughter's troubled past, but it was too little, too late. The jury was hearing these stories, but the harsh reality was that Evelyn, a bright and innocent child, was gone forever. Angela asked the jury not to sentence Megan to life without parole, claiming Megan had potential to change. At her core, she is a generous, kind-hearted person, Angela said, but her words rang hollow in the face of the devastation Megan had caused. Evelyn's future, her chance at life, had been violently ripped away. No amount of forgiveness could undo the damage. Megan chose not to testify. She had already said everything she wanted to say, and now she remained silent. The jury, however, had heard enough. The evidence, the stories, the lies. They all painted a grim picture. The state's closing argument was simple. Megan Boswell deserved life in prison without parole. She had taken a life, and she had to pay the price. The defense, on the other hand, asked for grace. They pleaded with the jury to show mercy, to recognize Megan's difficult past, and to allow her a chance for parole. But the prosecution was firm. They had all the evidence they needed, and they weren't going to back down. In the end, the jury deliberated, and the decision was made. Megan Boswell was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 51 years. The gravity of the decision wasn't lost on anyone. The verdict ensured that Megan would spend decades behind bars before even being considered for release. The trial, though over, had left its mark. It had brought up painful truths, shown the depths of Megan's lies, and forced the community to confront the horrifying reality of Evelyn's death. The case had also inspired legislative change, with Tennessee passing Evelyn's Law in 2021, making it illegal for parents to fail to report a missing child within 24 hours. For Evelyn, there would be no more pain. She had been laid to rest at Glenwood Cemetery in Bristol, Tennessee. Her gravestone, a heart-shaped red granite monument adorned with angels, would forever serve as a reminder of the child whose life was cut short. In the center of the stone, Evelyn's smiling face, barefoot, surrounded by autumn leaves, would live on in the hearts of those who remembered her. The community had fought for justice, and in the end, they got it. But no amount of justice could bring Evelyn back. No matter how hard they tried, she was gone. And for Megan Boswell, her actions would haunt her for the rest of her life. Evelyn's story serves as a heartbreaking reminder of the fragility of life and the devastating consequences of neglect and violence. It's a reminder that every child deserves to be loved, protected, and cherished. And when that protection fails, the world must demand accountability, no matter how painful that may be. The final chapter of Evelyn's life may have ended, but her story will live on, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the fight for justice. And that concludes Evelyn Boswell's heartbreaking story. A chilling reminder of how a mother's love can be twisted into something unrecognizable, and how a child's innocence can be taken away in the blink of an eye. What do you think about this case? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If this story caught your attention, there are many others on this channel that bring light to tragic events like this, stories that deserve to be heard and remembered. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video so Evelyn's story and the stories of countless others continue to raise awareness. And if you'd like to support the channel further, check out our membership for exclusive content and perks. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.